Do you have a favorite page on Baseball Reference? It seems like a weird question to ask, but if you're a true baseball sicko, you probably do. I remember a few years ago some of the baseball guys at The Ringer ranking their favorite Baseball Reference pages. The top picks included Bob Gibson's 1968 game log and the 2011 draft first round. All great choices, but my personal favorite Baseball Reference page is that of a player you've probably never heard of, and his name is Connie Marrero. And here it is. It's my favorite Baseball Reference page, and thanks to the powers of green screen technology, I can now live inside my favorite Baseball Reference page, which belongs to Mr. Connie Marrero. There's probably a lot of things jumping out at you right now if your eyes are scanning some of his biographical information, but I just want to scroll down here and look at his stats, because I think what kind of makes this charming is that at the absolute surface level, he had a good but yet unspectacular career in Major League Baseball. He played 5 seasons, he pitched 735 innings with a 3.67 ERA in the early 50s, he had a 108 ERA+, one-time All-Star, and at one point finished 34th in AL MVP voting. He pitched his entire Major League Baseball career for the Washington Senators. The first thing your eyes might be drawn to when you click on a Baseball Reference page is the picture, and I think Connie Marrero comes through with 2 strong photos right here. He sort of reminds me of a character actor. He has a character actor type look. He's not ugly by any means. In fact, I think he's pretty handsome, but I would kind of cast him as like a thick-headed henchman type in an old Hollywood movie. We can see that his position was a pitcher. We knew that already, but now we know that he hit right-handed and also threw right-handed, so he was a right-handed pitcher. The next line is really where things get interesting, because Connie Marrero was listed at 5'5", 158 pounds. 5'5". This guy was actually shorter than me, and there's not a lot of players in MLB history who can say that. So if your baseball brain is anything like mine, you're probably asking yourself right now, hey, how many pitchers 5'5" or shorter have there even been in baseball history? I mean, pitcher is traditionally a position for tall people, and 5'5" is short, not just by baseball player standards, but just regular human man standards. So I queried up a search here on StatHead, searching for pitchers who are 5'5" or shorter with at least 500 innings pitched in professional baseball. And there have been a total of 5, but you're about to find out Connie Marrero is really unique among these 5, because the first 3 here, Bobby Matthews, Larry Corcoran, and Lee Viau, not sure how to say that name necessarily, all pitched before 1900, which is pre-modern era. This was before the American League was even founded. And then the next guy, Heliodoro Diaz, only pitched in the Negro Leagues, which was actually common at the time for Latin players playing stateside. Connie Marrero is the only 5'5" pitcher to throw 500 innings in the history of the American League, and really the only one who did so in Major League Baseball post-1900. So Connie Marrero is really unique in this, just for his size, his height alone. He was a short king, not as a second baseman or a shortstop or a center fielder. He was a pitcher. So with a few caveats, you could make the argument that Connie Marrero was the shortest pitcher in modern Major League Baseball history. But as we go down here from 5'5", 158 pounds, the next 2 lines are fascinating as well, because Connie Marrero was born April 25th, 1911, and he died April 23rd, 2014. He lived to be almost 103. He died 2 days short of his 103rd birthday. He was born in Cuba, and perhaps more interestingly, he also died in Cuba. So let's talk about that first. So Marrero, as you know, pitched for the Washington Senators in the early 50s. Once he was done with that, he went back to Cuba, where he is described as one of the most prominent players to remain in Cuba under Fidel Castro. The revolution took place in 1959, and he stayed, and that's where he lived out the rest of his life. It's a morbid thought, but I can't help but think about some of the modern Cuban stars in today's game. Will they ever get the chance to return home and, if they so choose, shuffle off this mortal coil from whence they came? In the case of Connie Marrero, he did that. Born in Cuba in 1911, went to the United States Capitol, played for the Washington Senators in the early 50s, and then returned to Cuba as a Cuban citizen, where he would die in 2014. It's a really unique pattern. It's a really unique baseball life. This is the list of Major League centenarians. These are players who live to be at least 100 years old. And as we can see here, Connie Marrero is listed as the 4th longest living Major League Baseball player. But if you were to narrow it down to just Major League Baseball proper noun, let's say American League and National League, he's actually the 2nd oldest at 102 years and 363 days. The only guy who lived longer who played in the American League or National League is Red Hoff, who died at the age of 107. Ahead of him as well are Emilio Navarro, who is a Puerto Rican who played in the Negro Leagues, as well as Silas Simmons, who is an American who played in the Negro Leagues. He lived to be 111 years old. But the fun with Connie Marrero's age doesn't end there, because once we get past born 1911, died 2014, buried, cremated, just in case you wanted to know, we can see that he made his Major League Baseball debut just a few days shy of his 39th birthday, and that he played his last game when he was 43 years old. So this entire Major League Baseball career we've talked about so far, the 3.67 ERA and 735 innings pitched, he did this as an old man, essentially, by baseball standards. There's so many great opportunities to use a StatHead search to see just how rare this is. StatHead's a great tool. You can use code FOOLISH20 for 20% off. I also have a video about it. I'll link in the description so you can learn about some of its features and how to best harness this tool. But anyways, just looking here at rookie pitchers in their age 39 season or older, we can see that before integration, there are a lot of names, some of them Negro Leaguers, who I'm sure pitched at lower levels of the Negro Leagues before showing up in the stat sheet in what were considered major leagues as 39-year-olds or 40-year-olds or 41-year-olds or what have you. But let's say since integration, there have only been 5 pitchers who were rookies during their age 39 season or older. That's Les Willis with Cleveland in 1947, Connie Marrero, Diomedes Olivo did not use up his rookie service time when he was 41 in 1960, so he had to wait until he was 43 in 1962. And then, the best chances you'll see anything like this again would be from Japanese players coming over at an advanced age or Korean players coming over at advanced age. And so the most recent ones are in 2007, Masumi Kuwata, and in 2009, Ken Takahashi. But I'm not just interested in the fact he debuted during his age 39 season, I'm also interested in the fact that he pitched really, really well. And his best season actually came during his age 41 season. He had 184 innings pitched, a 2.88 ERA, a 124 ERA plus. And I just wanted to see, hey, where does that stack up among other pitchers age 41 or older? Like, how rare is it to have a season that good? So again, with the StatHead search, code FOOLISH20, blah, 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 we're looking for pitchers age 41 or older with at least 3 wins above replacement in the season. We can see 27 pitchers have done it, and it turns out Connie Marrero had the 15th most valuable season by any pitcher 41 or older. And you look at some of the names ahead of him, you go, wow, Warren Spahn, like Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, Cy Young. It's pretty awesome stuff to see, and there's Connie Marrero right there, making his own slice of Major League Baseball history. We can also do some really cool stuff directly from Connie Marrero's page itself. So if we go down here to Finders and Advanced Stats, we can do a game finder just for the games that Connie Marrero pitched in. So here's all the games Connie Marrero pitched in. What if I decided I wanted to sort by game score, which is just sort of tries to give you a score, usually on a scale of 1 to 100, of how good you pitched in the game. And so what were some of the best games Connie Marrero pitched in his career? And this one stood out to me. In 1953, on May 18th, facing the Chicago White Sox, he pitched 9 innings, a complete game shutout, and struck out 9 batters. It was quite the performance, and again, it was at the age of 42 years old. So how many 42-year-olds have had a game as good as this one that Connie Marrero had? And again, it is going to be StatHead to the rescue, code FOOLISH20, link in description, looking for pitchers who, this is not just their age 42 season, this is their exact age at the time they pitched the game. So they had to be 42 the day they pitched the game, or older, of course. We're looking for 9 innings pitched, no runs allowed, and at least 9 strikeouts. Only 4 pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball have done that. Nolan Ryan did it 7 times, which is just completely ridiculous. Satchel Paige is on here, and I actually think Satchel Paige is an interesting comp for Connie Marrero in a lot of ways if you look at their Major League Baseball careers. Connie Marrero's there, and then Charlie Huff is the other guy who did it, so good for Charlie Huff in 1994. But yeah, Connie Marrero and some pretty cool company here with Charlie Huff and Satchel Paige and Nolan Ryan. Now look, obviously Connie Marrero didn't just poof right onto the scene in Major League Baseball a few days shy of his 39th birthday. He had a baseball playing career before that, but not much is actually revealed if you go down here to minor league stats. We have 3 seasons here with the Habana Cubans, which were affiliated with the Washington Nationals, we now know, in the Florida International League. He dominated for them, had a ERA below 2 every time before he finally got his chance to play in Major League Baseball in 1950. But, this starts at his age 36 season, so I guess the question is pretty simple. What the heck was Connie Marrero doing before he was 36? So again, we're going to try to use Wikipedia to sort of fill in the gaps here. They do have from 1947 to 49, he pitched for the Cubans in the Florida International League. But where does his playing career start? Well, it starts for him, he played in various teams around rural Cuba. But in 1938, the age of 26 or 27, he was invited to pitch for a team in the Cuban Amateur League, and this is an amateur league. They were not pros, and it was in fact against the rules to be pros. His team was sponsored by a department store, which kept him employed during the week. Now, as you can imagine, he was a great pitcher in that league, and he dominated, and he actually exited that league unceremoniously because he was caught pitching in a non-league game, presumably for a salary, and given an indefinite suspension, at which point he decided to turn professional. And it looks like he doesn't sign his first real professional contracts until around 1946, 1947. We can see 1947 again is when he landed in the Florida International League. So at the time, he would have been like 35 or 36, so he becomes an amateur at 26 or 27 and only a professional baseball player at like age 35. If you want more information on Connie Marrero, I highly recommend reading his Saber bio. It's not easy to sum him up, but that's exactly what I'm going to try to do right here, right now. So he's born in Cuba in 1911. He grows up to be a 5'5" pitcher. He signs with his first organized amateur team at the age of 26. He turns pro at the age of 35. He makes his debut in Major League Baseball at the age of 38, pitches until he's 43, goes back to Cuba before the revolution, stays, lives to be almost 103, and refuses to elaborate.